Hey ladies, welcome back to the Let's Talk Bikini podcast. I am your host, Steph. We have our host, Claire, on the podcast, of course, as well. And we also have our special guest, Nicole Tan, who is also a IFBB Bikini Pro from Australia. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, thanks for having me, guys. So excited.
You are so welcome. What have you been up to? How long have you been back in Australia now? You said that you're going to Singapore next week.
Yeah, so I got back from my first proper holiday. So I know like the same as you guys, normally when we travel, it'll be like for clients, for work, for competing. But I went on a proper holiday for the first time in like I don't know how many years. In December, I went to Japan for like 10 days purely for holiday, like for the reasons of like to have a holiday. And we went snowboarding and everything. And I got back like exactly on the 1st of Jan. So I've been back now for like a month and a bit, and then I'll be headed back to Singapore for a little bit sometime next week to see family and like sort out a bunch of paperwork stuff, passport and boring things.
Okay, interesting.
How was the holiday not being in prep?
Oh, it was so good. Like I still have like that same tendencies of like, wanting to make sure I eat enough protein and stuff, but I literally didn't train for like 9 days straight. And it felt so weird, but so good at the same time. But we still like got a lot of steps in, and obviously snowboarding was so hard. Like you don't realize like how immobile we are as bodybuilders until you try to do like a proper sport that like other people do, where you have to like move your bodies in certain ways. And I was so sore after that for like days and days on end, just using like different muscles we don't normally use in weight training. But it's so fun, and like Jeremy's now like in love with the snow, so we're definitely planning for another snowboarding trip, like not sure when, like maybe even to New Zealand. But because Perth is so far, like New Zealand is still pretty far away from us as compared to you guys, so we might just head back to a different part of Japan again, or maybe Korea, somewhere else, to experience the snow. I know Canada has the best snow, but it's also a little bit far away.
Yeah.
How far is it to Japan from you?
So usually we fly from here to either Singapore or Malaysia, which is like a 5-hour flight. And then it's another, like, I think 8-ish hours from there. So, and then once you get to Tokyo, you have to take like the bullet train for like an hour to get up to the Hakuba Mountains. That's where we did the snowboarding. So it's like a lot of travel, but it's definitely worth it. Like, have you guys done like snowboarding before?
Like 10 years ago.
Not snowboarding, but I've done skiing. And
skiing, yeah.
Yes, and in Dubai we actually have a ski slope.
Oh yeah, like an indoors one, right?
Yeah. Do we even count that? Like, does that count, Steph?
For sure. Well, if you're learning as well, and I'm doing my little skiing course, so I'm learning how to ski properly.
Yeah, and I think it would be much harder in Dubai because the snow would be the fake snow. So if you can like master it with like the not as nice snow, like when you go to real nice fluffy snow, like you'll be really good.
Okay.
So we had originally planned to do the beginner's course.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And Steph being late as usual. I mean, like we weren't expecting, like I wasn't expecting anything less from Steph. But we rocked up and we fully missed that booking. So we were like, yeah, we can ski, like we're fine to ski on our own. And we got up there and like we just stood there at the top of the hill. Did we go down?
I think we went down like maybe a meter and fell on our arm. We just stood there for about an hour and a half and then accepted that we
like contemplating if we're going to try or not.
There probably is like a lot of kids there as well that are just really good, and then you're just like, oh my god, how are they so good? And I'm just like on the ground all the time.
Yeah, literally. We ended up just like going on the ski lift, and then we did those like cute little rides for kids.
Oh yeah,
like the kids stuff.
Sledding is the best. Just jump on a sled and just go.
We didn't do that.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah,
like and stuff, like proper, like actual.
Yeah. Things that require a bit less skill and less stress, you know.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Definitely.
No, but that's really cool.
Done about 5 lessons now, so apparently I look like a pro, which means that when I get to the real snow, it will be a breeze.
Yeah.
Do you have a trip planned, like a snow trip planned?
Not yet. I want to wait until I'm fully confident so I can go down the big hill, because in Dubai they've got different levels of different hills, and then we'll book one. But we're thinking of going end of year. We want to go to Iceland. I don't know if they'll have
Oh
snow
my
there. They probably
God.
will.
Me and my sister might go at the end of the year too.
Iceland.
Yeah.
Okay.
Random, I
Like,
know.
it's like on the other
Coincidence.
side of the UK because we're going to the
Mm.
UK for Christmas, and then because we're going all the way there, we might as well go to
Might as well,
Mm.
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, I heard Iceland is beautiful.
We
yeah,
want to see the lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. That's the main thing. The lights,
Mm.
and I also want to do a husky ride. That's the
Oh,
goal.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, might see you there.
Yeah. Well, feel free to join for the ride.
Would that
True.
be your first proper holiday as well, Claire? Because I mean, so Steph, because most of your trips are usually for work, right?
Yes, I'm trying to think of
Mm.
where I've been recently that hasn't been for work, and I think all of them have.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the trip with Barlett was work, of
Yeah,
course.
work,
Just made
yeah.
Japan. Before that was Europe for one of my other clients, and then before that was our own trip. Yeah. So I guess the only I wouldn't even say that was a holiday, but we went to Melbourne for a few days, but we had comps on that weekend too, so
Mm.
don't know, couldn't tell you.
I guess New York, when you went to New York, like after all the shows were finished, that was pretty much a little bit of a
Yeah,
holiday.
kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We didn't train
true.
those days, so yes,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
yeah.
can take that as a holiday.
We were just in food comas every night.
Oh, yeah.
So, Nicole, your last shows, where were they?
So my last two shows were in Vietnam and Korea.
Okay, so it was just the two last season?
Yeah, just the two. Yeah, I would have maybe done another one if there was one that was kind of close enough. Like I realize now it has to be 1 week after the other, especially with the
Mm.
whole flying situation. So basically, I flew to Vietnam first, and it made sense because Vietnam's closer to Australia. So went there just probably 2 days out from like the show, and then I went to Korea and stayed in Korea for like the week prior to that show. And then there were no other like shows in the vicinity in the close future. Plus, like it was Jeremy's first time in Korea, and we really wanted to like have a holiday there after as well. So I really didn't want to like be in prep knowing that like the next show was like 3-4 weeks away or something. It just really throws everything off, and it's just so hard being in condition at that time. And on top of that, in a different country, and it was like autumn, so it was like kind of cold as well. And you just want to like enjoy some food like in that weather and like stuff like that. So yeah, I cut it after the career show, but I think even if I had plans, I would have stopped there anyways, just due to the feedback. So I don't know if people here know, but I didn't do very well in the two shows, although I probably like I would say that was the best I've ever looked and the most different I've looked, the most muscle I've presented on stage. But the feedback was just, and even before the feedback, like once I was on the side looking at how big the first call out girls were, and when you see that in real life, like they look so impressive on Instagram, but you can put your own photo next to someone else and it's still going to be a photo, and you can't actually tell how much bigger someone is unless you guys stand next to each other. And I'm already a really petite girl,
Yeah.
and also I've just never been very, I think me and Claire like have about the same ish sort of weight. Like I usually compete around like 42 ish, and then this time I competed at like mid 43s, which have meant that like I would have put on like a kilo of solid muscle, which in my head I thought might have possibly been enough, because again I am small, so 1 kilo does visibly look quite different on me. But yeah, the girls there were just so much more dense, and in Asia they're very, very conditioned as well. Like I would say they're probably, if they go to US, like they might get told that they're a little bit too conditioned. And one of the girls who won the career show, she was competing with like Isa and stuff at all the top American shows, and she always came like she came top 5, but she was always told like you're too big, you're too hard, things like that. But in Asia, like she looked exactly how she should. Everyone was exactly like that. So sometimes it just really depends on like who shows up. And I also heard a lot of the feedback of in Korea there was like only I think 10 or so, 10 or 11 of us. So it was like small group. So when you're like standing in line to get feedback and kind of hear other people's. So even the girls who came like top 3, top 4, like they were still told by like the judges as general feedback that like if you want to do better, like you need to be a little bit less hard. But it's like, just everyone is just that hard. But I didn't think it was too much of an issue. But for me, it was just size. And they were like, you need to bring a lot more size. And the final judge pretty much told me, so I tried to push a little bit more, like, how many more kilos do you reckon? Like, just so I can visualize and see if it's even attainable, or like how long I'll need and things like that. And he pretty much said like at least like 3 kilos of extra, stage weight, like not like off season weight, like 3 kilos of stage weight. So it took me a while to kind of digest like all that information, but I think being in that headspace, I would not have done another show, even if I had pre-planned it, even if I had booked my flights. Like, I think as long as I haven't signed my contracts, like I would probably just take that trip, but definitely not compete anymore after that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It definitely is quite a hard one for the Asian shows as well, because I know looking, like trying to toss up Asia, USA, and Europe, like Asia definitely looks like a harder one to do, just because the shows aren't so back to back like they are elsewhere. So I can that's kind of a difficult factor of that.
Yeah, but it's a bit closer though, to fly to. So it's just one of those things. Yeah. But Korea was amazing to prep in. Like, I tossed up between Korea and Japan, and after doing like deep research on just like the prices of things, how far things away are. Like, people don't realize in Japan, like shit's really far away. Like, you probably have to drive 1 hour to your closest supermarket, like to get chicken breast. Like, it's just not that basic. Whereas in Korea, it's much more friendly to bodybuilding. It's easy to take the trains. Like, it's just much easier place to prep. Taxis are cheaper, and just generally things are like a little bit cheaper and easier, like to do prep in Korea for sure. So that's what I'll definitely like tell everyone, because I think Japan is definitely a more popular destination, because most people go there to compete, but it's so hard being there, especially now. Like, I've gone there twice as a tourist. I'm like, I just can't imagine having to prep here. It's so difficult, and it's so expensive. Just on taxi alone is just like crazy.
Oh yeah, like when we competed, because I've been there twice. Once when we actually turned pro, and then once with Marlette last year when she competed there. And even just like what you said, like taxis are so expensive, and for us to just go from our hotel all the way to the venue cost us $100 one way. And just little things like you can't get rice cakes, you can't get almond butter, you can't get chicken, asparagus, like all those things were so hard, and they all add up as well. And not to mention like trying to figure out the train system, and like you can't buy tickets unless you have cash, and all those little things that
all the little things.
The system's so different to like here. The US is completely different.
The US is easy like compared to Asia, just in terms of like being able to go down to your closest, like, I don't know, like Target or whatever, just pick up whatever you want. Like it
a Walmart, or what was that, Whole Foods? There was one in every city that we stayed in. That was like the highlight for us. Just like getting our trolley and doing our grocery shop.
They have like superior rice cakes.
We
the rice cakes in the US
is like, so good. We would empty the freezers of barramundi, and like we'd go back the next like 2 days later to get more, and they still hadn't restocked.
Yeah, I was actually doing my taxes the other week, and I was going through all the expenses from my USA trip. And like, God, we spent so much money on
I know.
We should actually go through the expenses of the trip, but it was like alone, it was like $5,000 an Uber
alone.
That'll be 10,000 between us, because we were doing paying for one each. And like I don't even want to know how much money we spent on food. But
I know how like
people don't realize that as pros.
No, how expensive it is to
because people like they think we earn money. I'm like, no, we lose money every
time.
Yeah, for sure. And exchange rate would be even worse now. So like what costed us like a $20,000 trip when we went probably be like 25,000 at least now.
Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway,
well, it was worth it though.
I've actually got your photos here, Nicole, from your last 2 seasons.
Let's have a look.
About your feedback. Let's see if my technology skills can share my screen.
Let me ask Jeremy if he knows. 1 second.
All right.
Can you come here? We need help. Do you know how to share screen? Wait, no, tell Steph.
Hello.
So they have to, the drop down box if you hover around the bottom part.
So at the bottom of the screen, there is like a button that says share screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just click that
Share
apparently.
screen, yeah.
Just click the button.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wait, you're telling me there was a button that said share
Oh, wait.
screen?
It's
Yeah.
something bad. I think
It's
Like,
okay.
desktop and share my screen, I think. Correct? Hold on, let's try this.
Oh
Oh
my
yes,
God,
yes,
Steph.
yes, yes.
You see
yes.
my
Bless
screen?
your soul. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we're working.
Oh no, that's so funny. Okay.
Okay, we now have.
Now you have a whole collage going.
I did this like 5 minutes before I jumped on the call, so apologies if my
No, it
skills
looks good.
are shit.
That was good thinking.
So, Nicole, so this is you in Singapore, I believe, not
Yeah.
your last season, but the previous season before that. Your
Yeah.
last show for that season, and then this is your recent one. Is this Korea or Vietnam?
This one is Korea, yeah. So the Vietnam, I was wearing the red bikini, but I didn't get like proper stage shots from that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I would have just had like check-in photos that I would have posted, but not proper like stage ones.
Yeah. And what was your weight difference from the two shows?
Yeah, about 1 kilo.
From Vietnam and Korea?
Oh no. Vietnam and Korea is about the same. I think if anything, I was a little bit lighter in Korea. So in Korea, I was a little bit tighter on show day. In Vietnam, something really, really odd happened. So basically, a day before we were carbing up, and I was carbing up on like nearly 300 grams of carbs. But I like to take my weight at the end of the day just to know like end of day weight to predict the next day. And one day out in Vietnam, my nighttime weight was lighter than my morning weight. So
Wow.
that was just like really shocking. I don't know what happened, but sometimes you just go to a different country, like change of temperature and shit like that. Like anything can happen. So I had like a last minute like extra carb up that night because I was like, I can't sleep and try to carb up the next day. Like we need to do it right now. I know it's like 8 o'clock at night, but I just gotta start eating more. And then luckily, like I ended up looking pretty full on like show day. I managed to kind of save that situation. But in Korea, everything was much more stable, and then we just basically carved up every day and had a more like kind of predictable look. But when I look at photos, I'm definitely like fuller in Vietnam, despite like that one day out weight drop kind of situation. But I would say like weight wise, like pretty similar. And then in that other photo, so in Singapore, yeah, basically about a kilo difference. So Singapore, I was on show day 42.5 kilos, as opposed to when I did America earlier on in that year at just 42 flat when I was in America.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
What was your morning stage weight for Vietnam and Korea? Were they very similar or were they slightly different?
Yeah, they were quite similar. I can't remember exactly, but in the 43 zone. I definitely didn't want to drop below 43. So luckily, both show day mornings when I woke up, I was around 43, and I'm definitely continued to carb up like during the day. Korea was actually really good because there was no prejudging, no night show. You just hopped on. They did the prejudging. You hopped off. They did a little bit of talking, and then you hop back on, and then that's it. So it was really good. Also, everyone commented on how dark the tan was. It is what it is. It was a rub-on tan, you guys. Like it's not spray.
Oh,
We
wow.
have no idea. So all the pros, like, and most of them were from China. So like literally none of us really understood what they were saying. Everyone's speaking Korean. And then they told us just to arrive, like I think 4 hours before our show time. We rocked up, no tan, but full makeup and hair done. And I was just like, I don't know how this is going to work. Like the spray is going to ruin everything. But nobody was standing there. They were rubbing this tan on us. And then we just got darker and darker and darker. And we were like, okay, well, it kind of looks weird, but we are all the same color. So I guess, it's just, you just got to be the same as everyone. Like you don't want to be the one person that has a different colored tan. But even the head judge, Steve, he was like coming up to talk to me and he was like, the amateurs tans are like pretty bad. How are you guys as tans looking? And I was like, honestly, it's pretty bad too. And you won't believe this, but the glaze was Vaseline.
It's Vaseline.
You're joking.
Like the lips Vaseline. Yeah, that's what they were rubbing on us. It was wild. It was wild. So I know I look a little bit crazy, but
Oh my gosh.
That is insane.
yes, it was an
Wow.
experience. I was just like, where's the glaze? And started
But
rubbing Vaseline. Oh my god. Yeah.
No, I didn't get
So,
it.
so Vietnam was spray though, right?
Yeah, Vietnam was
What?
spray. So I think Vietnam was Pro Tan. I'm not sure. No, Black Magic. They had Black Magic spray.
Mm.
So it was like a brand that I recognized. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, people use this in Australia. But yeah, Korea had no idea what they put on us, but it was free. So I don't know, maybe that's why they're like, oh yeah, the great thing about our show is you guys don't have to pay for tan. So I was like, great.
Yeah.
But
So is this photo Korea, that tan?
yeah, the one on the right, like really, really dark. Yeah, that's Korea. But
It
they
looks
did
fine. Like,
because I think they
it looks
re-edited
fine.
it so that like it's
Yeah.
not too bad. But if you saw like the ones that were just taken on my phone, oh, it was so dark. Like
Wow.
You can kind of see it from like your face to your body on the right, like the difference in between
yeah.
like the
Mm.
I was in
contrast.
Singapore, they used Pro Tan, so that was nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So 1 kilo between both of these, and
Mm.
I've got a back shot as well, which we'll go to in a second. What was your feedback if you got it from this season? Because you won, or you placed 6th in Singapore here, and then
Yeah,
you're saying
yeah.
that this you didn't do as well. Was
Yeah,
it
so I came
way
up,
too
I
low?
came 8th, but they were 10 people, so I would say third last. Uh, but yeah, so 8th place in Korea out of 10, 10 or 11, something like that. I think 10. And in Singapore was a really, really odd feedback. And I did actually tell the judge in Korea what my Singapore feedback was, because I know that he went to Singapore to judge the following year. And I told him that like Singapore's feedback, which was my most recent show prior to this season, was the only one that was different from all my other feedbacks, because even in the US and stuff, literally Tyler was like, keep everything exactly the same. We just want you to like grow everywhere, but like in the same proportions. Literally, it's always been grow everywhere, grow everywhere. Sandy was like grow a little bit more upper body, but generally it's to grow. But in Singapore, they told me the reasons why I didn't place better was because my delts and quads were a little bit too overpowering.
Okay, in Korea.
Yeah, so I was like, no, in Singapore, so the one on the left, the one where I came
okay.
6th. Yeah. So
Nice.
that's probably why I had a bit more confidence to jump back on stage the next year, because I was like, okay, maybe I don't need to add that much more size. I wasn't going to downsize my delts or quads because I still kind of felt like, I don't know about that feedback, but my goal was to bring up like more of the arms and the hamstrings and glutes, so that those two areas don't look overpowering, as opposed to like downsize them.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. It's very
Yeah.
funny that you got that feedback. But yeah, I can see why they would say that from a programming point of view with who you were coached by at the time. I think a very big focus of theirs, and I didn't really notice your upper body as much, but it does look like your shoulders do look smaller in the photo on the right now that I look at it.
Yeah.
First,
Yeah.
like it didn't really draw me to that, but 100%, yeah, it looks smaller. And to be honest, like I would have thought that your weight was less on the right, because you actually look way more conditioned, like way
I
more
was gonna say that.
on the right. Yeah. Like
Yeah, I was the
But is it the
most
lighting
conditioned.
in that
No,
photo?
I definitely was the most conditioned that like
Yeah.
I have been this show. There's like a secret video in like my little prep files of like when I was in Vietnam, and I was just like bending over to do my shoes up, and I had no joke, like feathers through my quads, feathering as I was putting my shoes on, and Jeremy was filming because he thought it looked so crazy. But yeah, and I was really, really scared that I was like looking a little bit too conditioned, like prior to going on stage. But literally everyone in Asia is that conditioned. So I think it was perfect, like the amount of conditioning I brought for the both Asia shows, even though I was like, yeah, I was very scared that I was looking a little bit too conditioned, but over there it was exactly like what everyone else was. And I just really needed like that much more size. So with that conditioning, it was correct to be like, yeah, at least 3 kilos of extra stage weight. So that's like, yeah, of pure muscle really that I
Yeah.
have to put on.
okay, cool. And they didn't say in your recent shows that you were too conditioned?
No, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. All right. It'll be
Well, I
very
guess that's the standard over there. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Because like from me looking at these photos, of course it's way different in person. I would probably be inclined to say, like, I loved your conditioning here, but I would probably say that if you had this conditioning on this size, I reckon you'd probably look at just that touch bigger. Because like
Yeah.
a little bit of body fat on top of muscle, especially more muscle, looks that little bit bigger, especially on a small
Oh
frame.
yeah.
Yeah,
100% agree. Yeah.
interesting. Your rear shot though, so this one's actually from Australia, but it's the same season as the one in Singapore. It was just your first shot.
Yeah.
Your tie-ins are so much thicker now.
Mm.
And like here they were quite long, and I do remember seeing you in that season. Like you always had very quite long tie-ins, which
Mm.
you still do, and genetically it's your structure, of course. But like you've definitely thickened up your lower glute a lot from each show. What did you change in your training from this kind of season, as we know who you were coached by, to versus this season that your partner coached you for?
So basically even just from Australia to Singapore, even though I had the same coach then, I actually took over my training for the Singapore show. And I think that's partly one of the reasons why like I was able to actually make that much, like it was 500 grams of like stage weight, but also like looking much better at the Singapore show. Like it could be a lot of reasons, but like I think the main thing was that like I took over that programming for myself. And then obviously I continued to program for myself all through the off season until prep, and Jeremy, I just decided I didn't want to think about it anymore. So Jeremy programmed for me. Obviously for when I competed in Vietnam and Korea, and it is very, very, very different. So I think I possibly was doing a little bit too much volume, like in the past, not much kind of focus on progressively overloading. Very much just kind of like do the same thing and then do more of the same thing. And like it was fine. Like I was definitely feeling like I pushed really hard, but I didn't realize how much harder and how much more intensity I could actually train at now. And sometimes like literally some of my exercises I do like 2 sets.
Yeah.
But like I didn't realize all the strength and power and like intensity that I had in me because I was just so exhausted all the time with like the old way of training. And also like I don't know, it's partly my body. Like my body is very, very stubborn when it comes to losing body fat, even though like I always manage to get in condition. But what I need to do to get there is always like, no joke, 1,000 calories, an hour on the Stairmaster day, like, you know, just the standard stuff that I know like needs to be done. But I think that combined with the overtraining aspect and just like kind of push, I think like in my Australia debut, I probably would have lost a lot of size just to get into that condition. And yeah, so I think I just managed to hold on to a little bit more muscle with the new way I was training and actually like make some proper progress like in the off season just from increased intensity and like lower volume and not being scared of lifting heavy and doing more compounds and things like that, which I enjoy training that way anyway because I have a powerlifting background. So I used to, you know, love doing like barbell squats and all that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, I don't really do much of that now, but like I still am not scared to go hard and go like heavy on like the main movements, even if it's just like an RDL or something like that. And I just have more time to recover now. I'm out of the gym a little bit quicker than I used to. So yeah, I just much prefer the way I'm training now. I enjoy it so much more.
Yeah, 100%.
So what is your training split like now, Nicole?
So at the moment, I have been forced on a 3-day on, 3-day on, 1 day off, kind of like a split. So I used to just before this, like when I was prepping and stuff, I was always just like, yeah, 6 days of training, 1 day off. I think, yeah, with my previous coach, there was a period of time in the programming where it was just like, take rest days when you feel like it. And I am the kind of person that I'm just like, well, I don't need one, so I'm just not going to take one. And sometimes I think I've gone probably like a month, like 2 months training every single day without a rest day. And like I would feel fine because your body adapts and your body is just, you know, if you train it that often, it'll just, you know, get used to it. And then mentally you feel like you're fine, but you're not. And so yeah, now 3 days on, 1 day off. Like I do 3 days of lower body because at the moment my main focus is on growing lower body. And then I also have 3 upper body sessions. So one of like my days would be like a leg day with biceps kind of thing, or like another one would be like your legs and shoulders. So that's how I managed to hit
Mhm.
3 upper, 3 lower. So it's just because I have to hit everything, and still manage to have like about 2 rest days a week.
Okay. Take it back a second. Did you say your previous coach said you could, like, gave you permission to train every single day, and they knew you were training every single day for months?
Yeah, they're just like, yeah, oh yeah, take your rest days as needed. And then like for me, I'm like, well, I don't need it, so I'm not gonna take it, and so I didn't. And that
Yeah.
was like, yeah, basically throughout that COVID time, which yeah, 2 years of COVID of like not competing, but I did kind of like try to prep during that time. So I think like, yeah, during that time, I don't know. I think I didn't make as much progress as I should in those 2 years prior to my pro debut, as opposed to the amount of progress now I'm making show to show, without even a full year of off season. So I think like definitely the progress has almost accelerated a little bit now. But the scary thing to me is that like as much progress as it has been and as much changes as I have made, it is still not quite enough. And that was kind of what was like spinning around in my head after the show and after the feedback and stuff. It's just like, well, this is like the best progress I've made in a year. But if it's still not enough, plus like we talked about earlier, I'm like 32 now, and I don't know. I know that if I just do everything the same and just give myself more time and years, I 100% believe I'll get there. But how many more years do I have to give to bodybuilding and to give to competing? That is something that I don't know yet. And that is basically what's like my hurdle in front of me now, just knowing exactly how much time I want to continue doing this, because I think the only thing I really need right now is time, because muscle growth takes time. So
Yeah. Yeah. I totally feel you and agree with you on that. I feel like when you hit your 30s, it's the reality, right? And I feel like we lost a lot of time. Like even though COVID was only for like 1 year or such, like that is a long time, like a step back, I suppose, in like in the gym and in progress and all that. So once you hit 30s, it's like you said, like it's just time and keep doing what you're doing to get there. But
yeah, those years definitely, I just feel like I lost a lot of like my life, especially doing the things that we love to do, which is like, yeah, competing, traveling and things like that, and not being able to do that. But I think the one thing that sometimes still gets me is that like there was that one pro show that managed to go through in Australia that you both did. That I was like, I'm gonna sit this one out because I don't think it's gonna happen. And then that was the one that happened, and I was just like, oh, maybe if I just did that and I got some feedback earlier, or like just to know something, or just kind of pushing blindly for 2 years, not really knowing exactly like what I needed to work on and stuff. And I think it would have also been like good feedback for my coach to know like where I stood or where I fell short or like things like that. I don't think you really knew at that point, especially without having me step on stage before, like how much size I needed to put on, and maybe like the way we approached it might have been different or whatever. But yeah, if I could turn back time, I probably would have done that show.
yeah, for sure.
So that was 2021, wasn't it?
um yeah, I think season 8 2021, I believe.
21
Yeah.
in like
Yeah.
March, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so after that, your next show was America, right? Or had you done Asia?
No. So every time I used to do Asia was as an amateur. So my first my first pro show was that Australia one, which was the same season where we did America. So just the week prior.
Oh,
So you
that's
guys were
right.
already in America. I think you did Charlotte. So basically when you guys did Charlotte, I did the Australia Pro, and that was my first like pro debut. So that was the first time really like seeing where I stood, getting feedback. So I didn't really get much feedback from that show, but just knowing. I think you just need to step on stage to know, especially as a pro, you just
Yeah.
don't know where you stand, because you just like spent your whole amateur career like literally winning, and everyone's like, oh yeah, you're great, you're in the right direction. You just don't know until like, especially like when we went to America, seeing things in real life and standing then you're like, oh, okay, like I know now. I know what I need to do. And like, yeah, it took 2 years for me to be able to like realize that. So
100%. It's so different. Like even like knowing yourself, how big, how small you are, whatever. Like having a photo of yourself versus another pro is so different than physically being on stage with them. And things like, as you said, you don't realize until you see them in person, right? It's the same with like not just someone's shape and size, but the density, like the density of like these girls' glutes. You literally do not see that until like you're standing like a meter away from
Yeah.
it, which is
Yeah,
why
photos don't show it. Even
no.
videos don't show it. Like, people just have to see it in real life. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people, especially over here, like always say, why does Ash K do so well? Why does Ash K do so well? And she's one of those people like you need to see in real life.
Yeah.
You just see the
Yeah.
density on those glutes. And as soon as you see that, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I understand.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So how are you feeling from here? What's the plan with you? I know you're saying you sound a little bit unsure about your age and how much longer you've got.
Yeah, I'm a little bit unsure. I think especially like straight after, like it took me a while to really think about like what I wanted to do or like the direction I wanted to go in. But the main thing I was sure of is that like I really liked the more weight and more muscle on me. And I like training that way. And I wanted to, regardless of whether I step on stage or not, like I was still going to work on getting bigger, and I want more size on me, and I wanted to train to get bigger because I feel like training to maintain didn't really sound that appealing to me. And I wanted something to work towards. So like the doubt of whether or not it's worth me jumping on stage again was still there. But what I was going to do in the meantime wasn't going to change. So I kind of used that to get by for the first like couple of weeks or so. Because I'm like, well, nothing's going to change. I'm going to do exactly everything I've done, but exactly the same. But now it's off season. I get to eat more and I get to like be more flexible with my diet, which is like, I think that is the main thing I've changed since like being like self-coach for a while, is that I was just like, it's not that serious and I shouldn't be so pedantic about just the flexibility with eating and things like that. My whole mindset around that has changed so much. And I think that's why my last off season was like my best off season ever, because of the way I saw food and just didn't have any guilt associated with it, because I didn't have anyone to kind of like report to and be like, this is my weight today. Sorry, I went out yesterday because it was my mom's birthday. Apologies. Like I didn't want to say that. I just wanted to do what I needed to do. Like, and as you know, like when we travel for like client shows and stuff like that, sometimes we just don't have time to eat all day. And then sometimes we just want to eat a burger with them after the show because they just finished the show and like we didn't eat all day. And I didn't want to have to explain this to someone that I felt like would see me as being inferior or like not as hardworking as someone else who was just like, well, I brought my chicken breasts and just like ate it during the show and like, just do whatever it takes or whatever. And I think like people underestimate how stress affects our body so much. And it's very stressful to have such a like toxic relationship with like food and compliance, especially. And I really wanted to show that like in that last off season where I was the most relaxed I've been with my food, not saying that I just went out and ate like crap all the time. Like I just did what I felt was like reasonable for me. On top of that, with all the traveling, and then plus like I got married as well. And so before that would have my hens, and then I traveled to Bali for my wedding. I didn't want to have to, again, explain this to anyone. I wanted to drink when I wanted to drink, and I wanted to just do what I wanted to do in those moments, because these moments only come once. And I was in Bali and it's my wedding, and I don't feel like I want to tell anyone why I'm not eating my chicken breast. I just don't want to, but I still wanted to show that you can still make progress with that, because once you remove all that stress that is like affiliated with like being perfect all the time, I think you can make a lot of progress doing that as well. Obviously, there's some people that just, I guess, have no lives, and they enjoy just doing the same thing and eating the same thing, and they don't have other like commitments, I guess, like that would require them to eat out and things like that. Like especially like Claire being in Dubai and stuff, and it's like food is just such a big thing, and you don't want to be that person, and life is just so much more than that. But I still wanted to be a good pro and like be able to bodybuild and like make progress. So for me, it's just about finding a balance between the two. And I think like I managed to do that really well. So because of that, I was able to be like, well, I'm just going to do the same thing now. It's not going to change, because now I know that I don't need to be so robotic in order to make progress, especially if what I need to work on is adding on size. Then it just makes no sense to stress when I go over my macros for like a day or two, because what's important is like keeping my body stress free so I can rest and recover and grow. There's so much more to it. So was able to detach from like setting a date, and like I've always set a date. Like this is the first time that I don't have a date. But I just know that like over time and letting some time pass, that like it's still something that I still think about. And even though I have no intentions of competing this year, I still had a look at the calendar. Who knows why? I just embedded it, opened it just to have a look. I just want to know what shows they are. I'm not going to compete, but I just want to know. And I think that just kind of proved to myself that like I'm not fully done yet, but yeah, I might just have a different outlook on it like the next time that I do compete. Obviously, like we all have goals to like we do this because we want to step on the Olympia stage, and now it just seems that that might be a little bit further than I thought, and I would just be more than happy to have a good respectable placing as a pro for like a couple of shows. And if that would take me to like, I guess my timeline is about like I always thought I would probably stop competing around 35-ish, and if it took me that long in order to just achieve this first step, and like my age would prevent me from going any further, then I would like find a way to find peace with that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Do you feel like it would be, when you say your age around 35 is when you want to stop competing, which is the same as mine, to be honest, is
Oh,
it
really?
is it the age that you just don't want to be competing as an older pro, or like are you thinking about future wise, like with your partner, are you wanting kids, or is that something that's not on your radar?
Yeah, it's probably the having kids thing at 35. Yeah. So probably plan to have kids at about like 35 to 37 max. But yeah, I won't be too upset if like I'm not able to because of my age, because obviously now we like with the age thing is like it's hard to compete when you're older, but it's also hard to have kids when you're older, and it's just like way too many things to worry about. And at the same time, we're all such like life loving people. Like we want to like live life and like do things and like have experiences, and I don't want to be tied down by like, oh, society says females should have kids by 30 because every year you're above 30 it gets harder. And I know that it might. So I don't know, but I think that would be the age where like I probably would think about that, and then so my whole kind of like life would shift a little bit. So I think it'd be time where like, okay, I've given enough, like I've tried enough, and I should hopefully be like satisfied with what I achieved by then, and just can kind of move on to the next like stage in my life, whatever that may be. We'll see.
Yeah, I like that answer. I agree with that. I think it's like, because some people even compete still with having kids, and like hats off to them for doing it. Like I don't know how they do it, to be honest, but I think for me, like definitely not thinking about kids having kids anytime soon. And mine's around that 35, 37 age as well. Not completely locked in thinking about it, but if it happens, if it doesn't,
Yeah,
so be it.
exactly. It's the same. Yeah.
But I could never be someone that is a parent and continues to compete. And I think that's from like a personality standpoint of like, if I'm doing something, I'm doing it. If I'm a parent, I want to be a really good parent. And I feel like it's a very selfish sport to be able to balance both as such. And a lot of people definitely do it, but that's not something that I would want to pursue.
Yeah, I think with your line of work as well, because you're literally like running your own business and everything. So that also already like takes up a chunk of you. And like, I think a lot of I'm not sure, but I feel like most of the people who do go back to competing after having kids, like they don't have that business aspect to worry about too much either, perhaps. So maybe that might make it a little bit easier. I'm not sure. But yeah, like for me, I'm the same as you. I'm like, I think when I go all in on that, I would just be, yep, one, all in on like being able to be like the best mom I can be and things like that, and just like focusing on other areas, and just also like living the other aspect of life. Like I think it's just more like once I do that, I will be entering a new phase in my life. And obviously fitness will still be a big part of it. Obviously I work in the industry, I'll still be coaching, I'll still love it, I'll probably still watch Olympia and all that kind of stuff. But I think from then on, like I would want, if I do travel and stuff, for it to be for a holiday, like with my family and like all that kind of stuff, just really just move on from this stage in my life, I guess. So, and like I said, whether or not like kids be a part of it or not, but I think once I like stop, like I think I will stop, and I don't think I'll come back. And like, I guess my friends don't really understand, but they're like, I'm sure you'll bounce back, you lose the weight really easily. But it's not just about like losing the baby weight. I feel I'm like, of course, like I still want to look good, but at the same time, it's just like now with how everything is like progressing with like the more and more density required each and every year. Like you need to give everything to it. And it's just like, we're just getting pulled in so many different directions, and we need to leave a little bit of space to like have fun as well. Because I'm like, being a mom is hard, and then like dieting is hard. So then you just be freaking miserable.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I feel that. What about you, Claire? Do you feel like you're done? I always feel
I
like you're
do.
gonna shock us with one random thing
Yeah,
and do
I
a
feel like
random show.
yeah, because you're the youngest, so you still have like room to like turn back around and be like, oh, I'm gonna give it one
Yeah.
more, you know?
Look, like, to be honest, there's like a little part of me that like misses it. At the same time, I do feel like I've completely stepped out of the industry. Not completely, but I'm not as involved in it as I used to be. And I feel so far away from ever getting back on stage. Like, I feel like I've lost a lot of muscle. I've lost a lot of strength. Like, I haven't been training the same. So I feel like there'd be a lot of catching up to do. So I don't know, like, if I get into a better training routine, like over the next, couple years, and I kind of bounce back to where I was, I might. I don't know. Like, I guess I haven't completely checked out.
I
Yeah.
think you underestimate. I think you've actually improved since you were last on stage. Like, I know you think
Yeah, I feel like you put on
you're
muscle like since you last competed. Yeah,
like the shape of your glutes and everything as well. And like your
Mm.
shoulders will come back easy. Like all the front
Yeah.
details will come back easier. But like I think the best thing for you, because I've known you so well for so long now, is
Mm.
like this time of you letting go from the stage has like allowed you to detach that unhealthy mental state you have with competing. I feel like
Yeah.
like you're training like 5-6 times a week, and you're very, very strict, and pretty much almost you probably had a lot of burnout through all your preps as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's like, just from the outside point of view, I feel like that's
Yeah.
kind of in the back of your head, that you've still got that you're holding on to that kind of,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. Like, every prep I went into, we had a date, and it's like, I like what you're doing now, Nicole. Like, you're kind of just going with the flow. When you feel like you're ready to get back on stage, like, you will. And I feel like if I am going to compete again, it'll be like that. I don't want, because it'd get to, we're like 6 weeks out and I'm not ready. So we would like push myself like to the ground.
That's the worst
And
thing in our last season.
yeah,
The worst thing we did.
yeah, it was. I like, a part of me wishes we like postponed the first show.
Yeah.
Even the first couple shows, and it just like set the season back like a bit later. But we did it, and honestly, like, yeah, what difference is it going to make now? So
It was only because, like, I definitely think we should have pushed it back at least 6 weeks. At least 6 weeks.
yeah.
Around that 6 week mark, we both knew we weren't ready, but we're like,
Yeah.
fuck it, we've committed, let's just do this, because
Yeah.
that's our personality. But also, I think because we were in Dubai at the time, and we were also very fresh in Dubai, right? And we couldn't actually go back to Australia at that point. So, like, the only kind of the only option we had was to do our prep in Dubai and then go to America. So it probably wasn't realistic for us to be in Dubai for another 6, 8, 10 weeks and then go to America. It wouldn't have kind of worked out with all the
Yeah,
borders.
I think you guys have looked forward to that for so long as well. Like, and I think it's just like it's the COVID mindset of like, if we don't do this now, like, what if something happens and then we never get this opportunity again?
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I feel like we actually put a lot of muscle on in that off season on the Gold Coast. And I know we didn't bring our best to America. Like, we could have come in so much better. Yeah.
My amateur packages were better than that.
Yeah.
100%. I would definitely agree with that. But like, if you look back on it, because I know you posted one yesterday or the day before of page as well, and like even yourself, like, just by looking at you, you can see it wasn't you. Like, it was very a lot of over dieting. If you look at your shape in certain areas, there was a lot of like shape loss that wouldn't have been from like lack of training and such. It's just like from
100%.
dieting after your shit prep, and probably
rushing.
and probably a lot of like subconscious stress as well that plays a massive part on your preps.
100%. And like, I'd never been as stressed as I was for that prep. Like, maybe even the like prepping in Dubai, like in a foreign country, you know, like and like rushing it there as well didn't help either. I know we had a huge like mess around with our meal plans as well. Like we weren't able to be consistent for a while because we were eating, you know, the meal prep company's meals, and they would always like get the measurements wrong and
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
some
It
yeah, I
was
don't know.
horrible. I was
It
like
was
double weighing it
tough.
to double
Yeah.
check.
Like
Yeah.
some days, you know, we'd have like we need 40 grams of avocado or whatever. And we wouldn't track it first because we thought surely like, you know, they know what they're doing. And then like just by chance, like one day I was like, or me and Steph were just both like, that looks like more than 40 grams of avocado, or that looks like more than 100 grams of rice. And we'd weigh it. And it would have been like 80 grams avocado and like 200 grams of rice. And we'd just been eating it thinking that they wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't get it wrong. Like it had to be accurate. So things like that just consistently kept happening. Our training routines were different every day. So
Our appointments were different every week.
yeah, we were moving.
It was so much like it was
Yeah.
it was the shittest prep ever just for these reasons.
So it's like, yeah, leaving, like moving on after having that as the last experience, it doesn't feel right. So I don't know. We'll see.
I think to be honest, like you're very traumatized from it. Like so am I a bit. Like we're both very traumatized after it. But I think you more so were more traumatized, and I think you're holding on to that. Like no pressure to say compete again, but I think like me knowing you very well was like you are like you're using that experience as like that's competing. That's what prep is going to be like if you ever do it again. And I see it a lot with like clients as well when if there's someone that's had unfortunately a really shit first prep, right? They don't know like how good a prep can be and like how much they can achieve by, you know, being a bit more flexible or less volume, more intensity, much easier it is, things like that. But yeah, I think
I
unfortunately
think next time will definitely be better for you, Claire, I think.
Yeah.
I think especially with having this time again to like step away from being so like it was good that we were so obsessed and so in love with it. I think like passion is everything, but also I think like we were a little bit on like that a bit of the crazy range, and I think since then we've managed to find a little bit of external happiness that is like not just prep and placings, and I think that will change the whole prep and competing process for you when there is less of that like stress and pressure and that just like that little bit of toxicity that like we put onto ourselves. Like I think we just put that on ourselves and just I don't know, maybe we were like influenced into being or thinking that way. But I think now with like you have just changed so much like internally that I think you'll be able to like see prep in like a different way. And I think next time you do it, like it'll definitely be like a different experience for you.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. Definitely.
I think you would have to like take it slow and not like commit to it and kind of see how it goes from there. But like you're absolutely right, Nicole. Like, you know, I know all three of us were like Olympia.
Yeah.
Like we don't give a fuck about the process. Like just Olympia. Whereas like
we
you have to
were.
enjoy the process. Like yes, the end goal, if we get there, amazing. But like fuck the end goal. Make sure in it now, you're enjoying it now. And then that's when, you know, if you think you've won, you've already lost. So you should just enjoy the process in the meantime.
100%.
But I even think a little bit also externally, I think of pressure. Like I do definitely felt like myself that with a previous coach of mine, you know, if you've got someone in your ear that's feeding you like it's a bit like toxic coaching, right? But also like toxic off seasons, like what you said, being so regimented with a meal plan, that's toxic. You should definitely be able to enjoy flexibility in off season.
Or like, oh, someone else is doing this perfectly, and this is why this person is going to do well because this person, like almost like what's the word, gaslighting. Oh, it's fine that you didn't do it, but you know, and then like after that, it's like, oh, but like this person is so great because this other person is perfect all the time, and then you're like, oh, well, I mean,
well, it's like
it's not healthy.
Yeah, and it's kind of sabotage in a way as well when you think about it, because that's only going to create stress, right? And like now we're in our own heads being like, I'm not going to be I'm not going to be as good because I was a gram off or 5 grams off or 1 meal off. Whereas like realistically, if you step back and look at it, it's like, well, that stress that's in your head now, that is actually what's going to affect you, not the 5 grams of food.
Yeah.
Like the mental state in your off season of getting that downtime and like being refreshed for a prep, that's what off season should be for, right? Not burnt out.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Especially because for all of us, like our preps are always hard, and we're gonna accept that like our preps are gonna be hard. We're gonna be on that stairmaster. We're gonna be eating a little bit of food, but that's why in the off season, like we should be able to like have a little bit more flexibility and actually feel happiness.
Yeah.
Like
And
in us,
actually
like do
live.
whatever we live and like
have some energy.
enjoy, like enjoy what like life is, because if we're gonna do this, especially long term, like we can't be miserable every day. Like you have to enjoy like, every single day, and like the off season is the time to actually enjoy yourself. So yeah.
100%. And after all, we are bikini athletes, which is, realistically, it's like a very lifestyle kind of division. We're not women's physique that needs to be in the gym 7 and eating.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. So it is easier to maintain that kind of bikini look.
In the off season, definitely.
Yeah.
Was there any questions on Instagram?
Oh, good question.
Check.
I only posted it half an hour before we had our call, so.
Okay, so we've got one question. Your favorite gym you've been to?
I would say it is the Iron Religion gym in Orlando. That's
Really?
the first one that comes to mind,
the red.
I feel. Yeah, because I really like the gyms that I train here in Perth. So it's quite hard for me to find one when I go international that I like feel just as like comfortable in. But for some reason, like I really enjoyed like being at that gym. I know like the machines are not like the most amazing machines I've ever been to, but I think like I haven't been to many like very, very good gyms. So I definitely enjoyed that one. But I also think there was like quite a few of the Wells gym in the Gold Coast that I quite really liked as well. But yeah, I can't really remember. But yeah, either one of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
I know.
I think you need to come to Dubai, Nicole.
Yeah, 100%. I know if I go to Dubai that like Venus will be like, that I have never been to a gym that's like that grand, like for all the places I go to, especially when you go to Asia and stuff. It's all going to be like your typical Anytime Fitness style, and like I guess some of the gyms in Korea are cool, but it's just like very, very commercial, I guess.
Maybe that's why I felt really let down when I went to America, because we were so used to Binus and like all the super clubs there in Dubai.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Because maybe they are good gyms. I'm sure they are. But I just did not enjoy any of them.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, because I was really disappointed with Iron.
Same.
To be honest, that was the worst one. Out of the whole US trip, I was like, this gym shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Pittsburgh, I didn't really have a gym, and like I think there was like one like around the corner or whatever, but it was again like very kind of like just a Anytime Fitness style, kind of like a gym. Like I didn't actually go to any other like bodybuilding gym in the US. So, and like in New York, like forget about it. Like I didn't go to any gym, just the hotel gym.
We didn't either.
No experience with like what like American gyms really are like. Haven't been to any of the big ones yet. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think Claire's answer is the same as mine, but definitely Binus.
Binus.
In Dubai, it is absolutely unreal, but like not just how big
equipment wise.
Equipment is like next to none.
Immaculate.
There's so much of it. The vibe is just like you walk in there and you're like, wow, like I'm never leaving. Like,
and like we were like the regulars as well. So it was like you had that support walking in those doors. Everyone like knew you were prepping. It was like, I don't know, you just had support. Yeah, the vibes.
Yeah.
The vibes gave me energy when I was like,
dying.
Yeah.
But I think also the fact that like everyone was there for the same reason. Like, because Dubai, it's such a hub from everyone all over the world, right? So everyone was there to train, to network, and everyone was like so supportive as well. Like you could have these massive bodybuilders that like are supporting us little bikini girls.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It was, yeah, it's just an unreal vibe.
Yeah.
And everyone's supportive, and it's, you know,
Definitely
music,
one of the top
atmosphere.
reasons for me to go to Dubai for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to come visit, definitely. I've got one question. Probably should have posted
Okay.
this more than half an hour before. Yes. Have you ever worked with a nutritionist to find the best food sources for your body? No.
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 I feel like everyone should know themselves because there's so many. So, for example, like I can't do mushrooms, and I used to love mushrooms, and mushrooms used to be like a prep staple of mine just because it's like low in carbs and stuff like that. And I know mushrooms are really good for you, but like for some reasons during prep, and I haven't really attempted very well to like go back to it, but like my body just couldn't eat mushrooms. Just your body does weird things sometimes, and it just starts rejecting certain food sources, and it's nothing to do with the food source at all. It's just all to do with you. So you just gotta pick what you know works for you, and everyone is so different.
Yeah.
So just
It's
do
trial and
whatever,
error.
I think. Yeah, only
Yeah.
you know your
You learn
body.
as you
Yeah,
go as well. A
Also.
nutritionist doesn't know any more than you do. Like they're not
yeah.
going to say, "Oh, beans aren't going to work for you." You know, like you
Yeah.
have to figure it out yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I don't know exactly what the nutritionist guidelines are, but I know like dietitian guidelines from when I did my degree, but dietitian guidelines I do not agree with at all. They tell you to have
Yeah.
milk, and like it's
Yeah.
absolutely silly. So you actually learn way more from experience from doing competition preps and all that through nutrition rather than
Yeah.
working, you know. There's no need to go see a nutritionist or all that kind of stuff. Like everyone's got
I
their
agree.
own little things.
Yeah. I don't think any like competitive bodybuilder has ever went to see a nutritionist.
Neither,
So
no,
No.
ever.
it
No, 'cause
probably wouldn't
you
have
can't
worked.
you can't follow a nutritionist's meal plan like for
Yeah.
a bodybuilding show. It's not
Yeah.
work.
No, yeah.
To be honest, I don't think there's not really any merit into doing a nutrition course. Like I'll probably
No.
someone will hate the fact that I'm saying that, but I feel like it's just a marketing tool. If you're a coach and you say I'm a nutritionist, then it's general population
Any
people are going to be like,
any
oh,
coach needs to have some sort of knowledge like in
Yeah.
nutrition. And if you don't, you're a shit coach. But like, yeah, like it's just a staple that you should know pretty much.
Yeah.
And like you don't need to do a nutrition course to know. Like you just need experience yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can get
Yeah.
knowledge from so many other places that is not like
Yeah.
the nutritionist course or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Did you have another
Oh.
question?
I've got to sign out. Sorry, girls.
That's okay.
Should we end it here, or do we just want to continue without me?
Oh no, well, we might as well just end
It's
it here.
okay.
Yeah.
We can end it
Okay.
here.
So
Yeah.
sorry.
It's okay.
It's all good.
All right.
Alrighty. So thank you for jumping on, Nicole. I hope that you have safe travels back to Singapore, and looking forward to seeing you on stage one day, hopefully in the next
Thank
years.
you. Well, I hope to see you guys real soon somewhere.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm sure we
100%.
will meet somewhere in the world.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
If not the Gold Coast, you can always come over to Dubai.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening.